Okay, this is a little storyboard of some of the front metal repair. You can see around the headlight on the driver's side there's some rust right on the very edge. And the way I fixed this was I cut that section out and I took a piece of, I think it was 14 gauge, might have been 16 gauge, put it in the shrinker stretcher and gave it that arc until it fit the inside of the hole. And then once I got it to where I was happy with it, I used a hole puncher, put some holes on the top side of the fender, clamped it into position, and then tacked it in, and then filled in around the perimeter of it. I also put a second piece in there for additional strength. Now, with the grill removed and the parking lights, I found a bunch of rust on the front driver's side fender there, right around the parking light. You can see that there's rust holes, and a piece of the perimeter of the parking light hole is gone, and also the lower lip of the fender is also gone. So I made a piece for the bottom, that's about an 18 gauge, to repair that bottom lip where the filler panel slides into. So I tucked that in, got it shaped the way I wanted it to, and what I did was I took a piece of 18 gauge and I formed it to the curve of that fender, and I used the existing holes that were in the fender to bolt that panel there, and then I continued to shape it until I was happy with it. And then I did the cut and butt, where you tack it in and cut and flush out the two metals, and that's how I got that in place. But where the weld line is, the seam at the top, that is directly behind the grill bar, so you're really not going to see that. But I also put the little recess in around the parking light, and then I stitched in the bottom panel to the fresh metal so that everything's tied together. And then moving forward, in the core support, where that bumper filler panel goes on both sides, was rusted out, and that area was gone. So I made two new pieces, one for either side, and welded those guys in. And then the actual bumper filler panel was rusted on both sides in that exact same spot where it slides under the fender. So I made a template out of some computer paper, where you can see how much is gone there, and I traced that template on either side. The template fit both sides. Then I put it on a piece of steel, traced it out, cut it, and that's my patch panel. So there again, I did the cut and butt. I clamped it in place on top of the filler panel, used a bunch of clamps, started once I had to bend around the edges there to get it to where it fit the contour of the fender. I tacked it in place, cut it out, and got both sides replaced with fresh metal. Now, this side, the metal bracket on the back really wasn't that bad. I used some rust encapsulator to treat that, but the other side, I had to completely cut that metal bracket off because it was so far gone. As you can see, I cut that panel off, or that little bracket off right there, and I welded a fresh piece of metal in. There's the same panel, the same patch panel. I just flipped it over for the other side, bent it for the contour of the fender, did the cut and butt, welded it in place, cut the old piece out, got it all flushed out. There's the new piece of metal in there. Then I painted it with some of the rust encapsulator paint and primer, that Eastwood paint, so that way any rust that's left there wouldn't be left to spread. There's the core support piece, both sides welded in and painted, and there's the filler panel slid back in with the fresh metal on both sides. So all the rust is cut out, all the holes are repaired, and looks pretty good. That's the bottom of it once I finished painting it with the black paint, and really had no problem doing these repairs. But these panels are so hard to find that, where are you going to find another one? And then there's the core support finished.